Hey, you guys, and welcome to American Culture. So, I'm behind the scenes, like doing all the stuff to write out this show. Got my little teleprompter. I'm excited. But every so often, I run across some really good information. I can't wait to share it. And so, today I've been working on the parable of the 10 virgins. As we all know, we're headed into like Lent, and this is when we fast and get connected to the Lord and the resurrection. And you kind of recognize that all this stuff matters in your life. And it's not just a church thing, but that's a different story for another day. And before the lead up to Jesus being crucified and all the stuff that went on there, he goes through all these parables. And basically, excuse me, had a donut. Oh, sugar doesn't do well with me. And ever since I like cleared out all my stuff, stopped eating bad, I can't eat bad anymore else. It just doesn't work well with my body anyway. And so before you get to the crucifixion, the resurrection, you go through all these different parables, and it's basically like your faith is going to lead you through salvation. And I was going over the parable of the 10 virgins today. It's in Matthew 25. I'll read you a bit of it. It says, "At the time of the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom." Now, knowing God, he kind of doesn't really explain everything. He just kind of lays it out there. And so he set the scenario. This is what it's like when you get to the kingdom, the gates of heaven. Now, with that being the case, most of us know that we can't really go around and do a whole bunch of things to try to make ourselves right for that moment. You kind of need to be ready for it. And so 25 2, five of them were foolish and five of them were wise. The foolish ones took their lamps, but did not take any oil with them. The wise ones, however, took oil in jars along with their lamps. The bridegroom was a long time in coming, and they all became drowsy and fell asleep. Basically, this is happening in your life and your life around you, because what's happening within shows up outside of you. And so we get to these points where elevation is taking place, ascension is about to happen, our minds have changed, we're about to start experiencing life differently, things are dying, new stuff is coming in. But there's a part of you that's really, really wise. You have all of the faith, which is what the oil is. It's the faith. But you don't necessarily believe in the salvation that you received. You're like the foolish ones. The foolish ones, they have enough faith to get them there, but they don't think that their faith has gotten them salvation. And so what happens is they all go to sleep, and that's what happens to you and I whenever we get tired of doing something, or we just been believing for a long time, we kind of just forget about it and keep on moving. And then people were like, "Hey, the groom is on the way." And so at midnight a cry rang out, "Here is the bridegroom, come out, meet him." Then all the virgins woke up and they trimmed their lamps. Now, what trimming a lamp means is that by your power, you're making the light brighter. When you like turn the little thing on the side and make it go up. But the thing is, it doesn't matter how much you trim your thing to make your light brighter if you don't have any oil in it. And so essentially what's saying is, what happens is people, they try to do the work in order to gain their own salvation, but again, without faith, it just doesn't work out very well. And so then in Matthew 25:8, the foolish one said to the wise ones, "Give us some of your oil. Our lamps are going out." Now, here's the thing. Again, looking at the oil, knowing that it's faith, the foolish one said, "Give me some of your faith. My salvation isn't good enough." So, what do you think the people who are well prepared, well faith, do all that? What are they going to do? They're going to say, "No." And they did. They replied, "No, there may not be enough for both of us. You instead go and sell oil and buy some for yourselves." Now, here's the thing. We often forget that our salvation comes from the Lord. So we look to people. "Can you help me? Can you help me?" And what the world is going to do, it doesn't matter how wise they are. They can only tell you to do earthly things to bring yourself back. And so when the unwise ones went to the wise ones and said, "Can you save me? Can you give me some of your faith so that I can feel saved?" They said, "No, listen, I can't give you enough faith to save you." And that's a different story for another day. We'll have to talk about how that applies to you and your family relationships when you realize you got a long way to go for salvation. I could tell you, but I can't give you all the things in my mind that help me to be at peace and loving and caring. So my faith is not going to be what saves you. And so these women, these five girls, they go out into the world to find their salvation, and they do. And they get their oil and they come back. And when they get back, it says, while they were on their way to buy the oil, the bridegroom arrived, and the virgins who were ready went into the wedding banquet with them, and the door was shut. Later, the others also came. Lord, Lord, they said, open the door for us. But he replied, truly, I tell you, I don't know you. And see, here's the thing. When the women got back from the world gaining their salvation from out there, they probably thought they had the right car, the right house, the right everything. When they got to the door, they weren't asking for the bridegroom, they were asking for the Lord. And so, what this whole story is about is oftentimes you will be walking in good faith, but it seems as though things are crumbling around you and you're unprepared. And instead of going to the Lord and looking towards his character to be your salvation, you go to people and then the outside world trying to find it. And it's not until you go out there and realize that the house didn't save me, the car didn't save me, the boat didn't save me, that you show up back at this new place wanting a revelation, wanting a new life. And instead of asking for people, now you're asking for God. And he's saying, I don't know you, because if you had known my character, you would have never left to begin with. You see, like I say, they came back asking for the Lord, not the bridegroom. And he said, truly, I don't know you. Because the whole point of this is that faith is what leads to salvation. Nobody anywhere said that they needed a lamp or a light in order to go into the wedding. In fact, all they needed to do was to be there. And that's why it says at the very top of this is like going to the kingdom of heaven. No, you don't need this to be there. You just need your salvation. And even at the last minute, you can have that if you have faith. And so, if those five women had probably stayed there in good faith, knowing their father's character, in all likelihood, they would have been led into the banquet. We're the ones who put these outside rules, regulations, and restrictions on ourselves, canceling ourselves out of experiencing the glory of God because we don't think we have enough. We don't think we take the very little faith that we have and then go out into the world constantly trying to pour it into this situation and that situation, hoping that it's going to lead to salvation, and it never does. So, yeah, you guys, it says at the very end, therefore keep watch because you do not know the day or the hour. And a lot of people read this and they think end times, oh my gosh, the world's going to end. No, it's just one of those things that happens when, yeah, you get to stay on the outside of this until get to come back to this point of evolution again, until there's another wedding date for you to have. But instead of going to the world seeking salvation, come to Christ. So yeah, that's what this story is about. The 10 versions, like I say, it happens. There's parts of you that is 100% faithful and you believe in your salvation. There's another part of you that's pouring your faith into your job, your relationship, your friendship, and hoping that that's going to bring you salvation, and it's not working. You're also meeting that on the outside. There's pieces of you, you know that your faith is not going to make somebody whole, and you might have to do the difficult thing and walk away from those situations. But again, we don't want to be like those five who ran off into the world, listening to people trying to find their salvation out there, and then get back to Jesus. And he's like, I don't know you. You never bothered to try to get to know me. Have a blessed day, you guys.